All right, everyone. Now it's time to move on to and start wrapping up the show with our editorial. But this is coming after our brief recess.
RetroLovers Radio. All things 80s and 90s.
All right, everyone. Before we close tonight's show, I wanted to leave you with one final reflection because tonight's episode ended up connecting many different topics together in a way that's actually very revealing about modern life. We talked about the emotional atmosphere of the 80s and 90s, media influence, identity, music culture, human connection, and finally compulsive behavior and dopamine overload. And when you put all those topics together, a very interesting picture begins to appear. Because modern society increasingly competes for human attention, human impulses, human emotions, and human nervous systems. And many people don't even fully realize how psychologically overstimulated they, they have become with notifications, constant scrolling, algorithms, compulsive checking, infinite content, constant comparison, and eventually many people begin living in a permanent state of micro stimulation, micro anxiety, and fragmented attention. And maybe one reason people emotionally reconnect so strongly with older music and older media now is because those decades often feel slower psychologically. Not necessarily easier or perfect, but slower. There were more pauses, more waiting, more silence, more anticipation. You waited for songs on the radio, you waited for magazines to be issued, waited for music videos, you waited for concerts to begin, you waited for phone calls even without knowing who were calling. And strangely enough, those limitations sometimes protected the nervous system from permanent, permanent overstimulation. Now, of course, the 80s and 90s had many unhealthy things too. Uh, It had consumerism, media manipulation, substance culture, escapism. And tonight's Chuck Morgan discussion explored all of that very well. But modern life introduced something different, that is, continuous access. And psychologically, human beings were probably never designed for continuous stimulation, continuous comparison, continuous temptation, and continuous dopamine access. And I think many people today are not actually weak, and I think many are neurologically overwhelmed. And that's an important distinction, because when people feel permanently exhausted, they often begin coping automatically by scrolling, binging, compulsions, checking, escaping. Not necessarily because they are lazy, but because the nervous system desperately wants regulation. And maybe one of the healthiest things people can recover today is the ability to slow down voluntarily again, to pause, to tolerate boredom occasionally, to sit with discomfort sometimes without immediately anesthetizing it. And music itself can become part of that healthier rhythm. Because music, especially older music listened to intentionally, often creates a very different psychological experience from modern algorithmic consumption. You sit with an album longer, you absorb atmosphere, you reflect, you remember. And maybe that's one reason so many people still emotionally reconnect with artists like Queen, Sting, Tom Petty, Peter Gabriel, Fleetwood Mac, or George Michael, because many of those artists created music that invited attention, emotion, reflection, and presence, not simply rapid stimulation. I think one of the quiet tragedies of modern life is that many people forgot how to simply exist for a little while without needing constant input, without checking something, without consuming something, without escaping something. And ironically, that constant search for stimulation often produces even more emotional emptiness, because the nervous system never fully settles. So maybe one healthy goal moving forward is not rejecting technology completely, but rebuilding a more conscious relationship with attention, with dopamine, with media and emotional regulation. And perhaps that's also why spaces like this still matter, because many people today are quietly searching for a slower atmosphere, human voices, reflection, music, companionship, and places where the nervous system can breathe a little again. I think that that need is becoming more important and not less nowadays. So, wherever you're listening from tonight or today, whether you are working late, trying to relax, fighting your own stress, or simply needing a calmer atmosphere in the background, I genuinely hope tonight's show helped you slow the mind down a little and maybe reminded you that protecting your mental rhythm is becoming one of the most important skills in modern life.
This is RetroLovers Radio. RetroLovers Radio.
Alright, everyone, that's going to be it for tonight's Back to the Present live stream. And thank you again for spending part of your night or day here with me. If tonight's show helped you slow down mentally, relax a little, reflect, or simply gave you a better atmosphere while surviving modern chaos, please make sure to subscribe to Retro Lovers Radio and activate the notification bell so you never miss a live stream or new episode. And I also wanted to let you know something new. Is that I've now enabled the community tab over here. If you come to the home page, the community tab or post tab here on the YouTube channel. So now subscribers can also participate directly inside the channel itself. If you click on the community tab, it will take you to the post and you can check our latest post. If you give it a minute, let me check.
RetroLovers Radio.
Here you can share your favorite 80s and 90s music videos, post memories, photos, objects from those decades, old magazines that I haven't covered yet, or suggest new ones. You can share your picture of your cassettes, your concert tickets, your childhood photos or retro technology, or simply start conversations with other people who love the atmosphere of 80s and 90s. You can even, it's like a small social media inside the YouTube channel. So, not simply a channel, but a real retro community. And of course, don't forget to follow Retro Lovers Radio, 80s and 90s music, both the Facebook page and the Facebook group as well on Facebook. Also, if you prefer getting notification via email, you can subscribe to our blog in Substack. The links are in the video and channel description. So again, make sure to check out regularly our recent post in which we give some context to our videos. So sometimes we get some trivia or some quiz to make the experience a little fun, to challenge your memory or your knowledge about a certain artist. And make sure to, or you can leave questions or comments here, creating your own post and interacting with the whole community of subscribers. So after tonight's stream ends, feel free to stay exploring the different playlists and previous episodes here on the channel.